Welcome to the ProBrick exclusive YouTube channel with Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist. We're going to look at Dr. Frank from, let's have a look. He's from Addiction Mindset. Subscribe to his channel. It's absolutely awesome. He's a fantastic man. He's done a lot to help people, like thousands of people. This one's called Weed and Ruined Relationships. Let's go now to Dr. Frank and see what he can bring.
Been smoking weed for a long time, or you have a past history of smoking weed, you know the feeling of getting a little bit too high. And I mean too high to a point where you're starting to freak out. In today's video, I'm going to be reacting to an Above the Influence anti-weed campaign commercial from a few years back. And then after I react to this video, I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about weed and relationships and how it impacts them. Now, before I play the commercial, I want to preface things. The main characters in this commercial are Lindsay, and Lindsay is just getting back home after blowing a bunch of fatty clouds outside of her house, and the other main character is Lindsay's dog. So without further ado, let's see what happens.
Hey, Lindsay.
Now, it's at this moment Lindsay immediately realizes something's wrong. This is that point in your brain where you're really high and you're kind of like, okay, something isn't right. Something's off. You can really see the fear in Lindsay's eyes right here as she starts to gather information. Now, it's at this point, even the dog is thrown off guard by Lindsay's response to the, hey, Lindsay. Even look at the dog's face. Even the dog is doing one of those, oh, shit, she's that high. Lindsay is that high. Okay, I'm in control now. That's what the dog just realized.
I wish you didn't smoke weed.
And it's right there, the expression on Lindsay's face. This is where she realized she messed up. She went too far. This is where you realize and you start to doubt everything. Maybe that cart I bought from my plug wasn't straight from Cali. Maybe it was straight from DH Gate. Maybe it was a dank vape. This is where Lindsay says, okay, I've gone too far. What in the actual hell is going on? But she's so high, she's just going to roll with it. I've been there before. I know what it feels like.
You're not the same when you smoke. And I miss my friend.
It's sad. The dog, the poor dog, it's sad.
And I miss my friend.
Now, I gotta say, for a commercial from a long time ago, that's actually pretty heartbreaking. A lot of people, I think, can relate to the idea that we care a lot more about our pets than we do actual people. This is a very common phenomena.
Yes.
And this is where Lindsay is right now. Lindsay's saying, oh man, that hurt. The dog is effectively taking on the role of a disappointed parent. Have you ever had someone approach you about smoking weed?
Or a disappointed partner. I've had partners that smoke weed, and I'll never judge them for that. Not one bit. But there's a way in which weed causes these people to isolate. And that's not fair. That's not the way a relationship should be. And I guess, I don't know how it works behind the scenes, but I guess weed people belong with weed people. I don't know. It definitely wasn't something that I worried about, and I still love these people. But no, it was there was big problems going on with all of this stuff.
And instead of like telling you all the bad things, like, oh, weed's bad for this and it does this to you and it does that for you,
Yeah.
they just kind of tell you, hey, I'm disappointed in you. Like the worst type of thing you could, like, it's the worst feeling in the world to know that someone's disappointed in you. Boy, I found pot in your room. I'm very disappointed in you. What? This is the role that the dog has effectively taken on.
I'll be outside.
And I love this part too. The dog makes his statement and then excuses himself. I am done with this conversation. I'm not going to entertain your high. I'm not going to entertain you stoned. I am done. I said what I had to say to you, and I am done with you. Taking on the role.
And this is where, yeah, I grew up in the bike culture, deep bike culture, and up until the age of, I guess, 21 or something, and then I moved, oh, not even that, I think it was 18. From the age of 14 to 18, I'd seen enough of all this. And then I learnt really quick that there's just things you got to walk away from. You don't have to even... These people, they can turn on you very easily, and they won't face you. They'll do it behind your back. And you've just got to remove yourself. It's no point arguing with them. It's all delusional. It's all hypersensitivity built off the psychosis that the weed induces on these poor buggers. But they're not gonna face that.
Of a disappointed parent very, very effectively. Except I think a lot of people would be more disappointed in themselves if their dog was disappointed in them than their parents. So pretty effective tactic here. And then we see the above the influence. At this point, Lindsay is realizing that she is beyond the influence. Lindsay's processing a lot of thoughts right now, and she's really not sure what to make of it. What the hell just happened? I want to, on a more serious note, tell you guys something. And I think this commercial actually did a decent job of portraying this. Weed can impact, especially if we're talking about weed or cannabis addiction, our relationships.
Yeah.
And that could be a relationship with a friend. That could be a relationship with a pet. That could be a relationship with a family member or a relationship with a significant other. Have you ever been high sitting in your room and your friends are asking you to go out and, you know, they're blowing up your phone, people are texting you and you don't even bother reading the text. It's like, yeah, I'll check it tomorrow. And then boom, you wake up to the fact that you missed out on something.
Yep.
Have you ever dodged time with your family or time with people that you enjoy being around, maybe a significant other, to just go get high?
Yeah, I've been on the end of this.
And sadly, I think to an extent as well, too, I'm sure there's people who have, and sadly, I think to some extent, too, that there's going to be people out there who maybe have neglected their pets. Maybe, you got to take your dog for a walk, but you came home, you smoked too much, and tonight's not the night. Maybe, I hate to say it, but maybe you got to feed your pet. You got high, you're laying down in bed. I'm too tired. My dog ate lunch later today. He'll be fine. I mean, this happens when we're talking about addiction. And I'm not just
100%.
talking about THC addiction. I'm talking about any addiction, alcohol, opioids, THC, anything that puts you under an influence. And I actually think this commercial is pretty sad. Even though I joke about it and I laugh at it, I gotta say, for being an older commercial, I do think it's somewhat effective in the message that it's trying to get across.
You're not the same when you smoke. And I miss my friend.
And what I see the deeper message of this commercial is that, hey, weed can impact relationships. And there's people who miss the old version of you. But even more so, it's you who's missing the old version of you. I can tell you guys, when I was stuck in active THC addiction, there was nothing I wanted more to get back that old version of myself. Here I was, constantly fatigued, constantly stressed, just sick. Like I was just sick mentally and physically. I just didn't feel well. And I wanted so bad to feel good again. And I think that's one of the worst side effects of addiction, whether it's cannabis addiction or alcohol addiction or something else. It does take away from us. It takes away from the person that we once were. And one of the really cool things is when you decide to quit, when you decide to start taking your sobriety process seriously, you start to rebuild the person that you were. But in my opinion, you rebuild a better version of yourself, right? You're not going to go back to exactly the same person you were. Otherwise, you're going to make the exact same mistakes you've made in the past. So when people actually decide to quit smoking weed or quit using cannabis, if they really put in the right amount of work and the right amount of effort, I think not only can you go back to the person that you were, but I think you can become a much better, a much more interesting, a much more exciting version that you were prior to getting addicted to weed. And that's really what quitting is all about, guys. It's about reconnecting with relationships and even more so reconnecting with yourself. I know for me this was true, and I'm sure I'm just going to keep learning more and more about myself as I continue to grow in my kind of recovery and sobriety process here. Stay tuned. This is one video of several where I'm going to be reacting to old marijuana campaign ads. I got some really funny ones down the pipeline, so be sure to stay tuned to the channel.
So there you go. Addiction Mindset with Dr. Frank. You're on the ProBrick exclusive YouTube channel with Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you on the next one.